So we've been using handheld battery-powered planers around here for years. Previously, we used the Bosch because they had reversible exhaust and no other brand had reversible exhaust. More recently, we decided to try the Milwaukee handheld planer because that's the brand we've been switching over to, and they actually have the reversible exhaust, which is fantastic. So we bought this planer, we love this planer. A lot of power, very heavy, and just overall very clumsy. More recently, we had somebody comment and they said, hey, have you tried the Milwaukee 12-volt equipment? Have you tried the drive? Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, all that to say, more recently, when the Bosch started giving out, we decided to try the Milwaukee 12-volt planer, and let me tell you, for various and undisclosed reasons, this thing is phenomenal, an absolute game changer. We'll never go back to anything else. So for starters, right out of the box, the 12-volt is significantly smaller. It's a couple inches more narrow, a couple inches lower, and it's significantly lighter. So the 12-volt without a battery is 3.5 pounds approximately. And the 18-volt without a battery is about 6.5 pounds. So it's about 3 pounds difference. So if you figure in the extra weight of the bigger battery, it's actually about half the weight, which is a huge positive when it comes to hand planing for extended periods of time. You don't really wear out with this one. It just kind of feels more like part of your hand. This one, you actually get tired. You're having to leverage it, and the handle isn't as balanced. So for example, when I hold it like this, there's a lot of weight right here, and it's wanting to flip down like that when I want it sideways. And so it's a lot of work to plane. This one, when I hold it here, there's a little bit of weight. I can feel it about right here, pulling down just a little bit. But overall, it feels very, very balanced in the hand, way more effortless to plane with. And that's not all. So the second thing we notice almost right away is compatibility with a vacuum. For some reason, this one is just completely non-compatible with anything. Now, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure you can get all kinds of adapters and whatnot. But when we bought the tool, it didn't work and whatever. We didn't bother with finding adapters. This is too loose, and it did not come with this. Actually, I think it did, but that's loose as well. I don't remember. Anyway, it's all too loose, non-compatible, which is very, very annoying. However, this planer, so it comes with this attachment, and this comes with another fitting as well, another size. But this one works with the universal fitting that comes with the vacuum. This clips right onto the side of whatever side your exhaust is. So if your exhaust over there, you can just frunk, donkey dunk, and dunk, 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 done. So anyway, so universal adapter is what this is to plug into any tool. Anyway, so you can flip it to either side, and this universal fitting just plugs right in pretty tightly. Now this can pop off. It can kind of work itself loose, but overall I'm happy with it. It plugs in, and it does actually fit better with the adapter that comes with this, but then it just extends this out even farther, and it's just more clumsy. So you can plug it right in, and then you turn your vacuum on, and there is a lot of suction into here, and it pretty much cleans up all of your dust. Like it is very surprising how well it does at just removing all the dirt, which is huge for what we're doing, which is kitchen installs in people's houses, and it's very nice if we can minimize the mess. Highly compatible with the vacuum, which is phenomenal. Now, one problem this can cause is when you're planing, let's say a finished end of a cabinet like this, you're planing, and I like to angle like this, and that's how you control your depth, is you angle it front and back to control your depth if you're doing a curved plane or whatever. This fitting does hit the cabinet, so you have to have this thing on the top. So So you have to have it coming out of the top, which does reduce the suction just a little bit, but it still works really well, and you can go like this and you can angle it as much as you want and do your planing, and it removes all your dust. Those are huge positives to this planer and for the functionality and what we use it for. Now, for some of the little bit more of a drawback and some of the numbers that you guys are going to be spitting at us right away. First of all, runtime. That is a big one. The runtime, so we have 3 amp, we have the 12-volt 3 amp batteries. That's what we have on our truck, 3 of them, and we use this for this tool and the drill. They don't last very long. Like, I don't know the exact running, like planing time that you could get out of it, but probably under 10 minutes. Now, typically you're not just like there planing and planing and planing and planing. Sometimes yes, but most times you plane something and then you plane another thing later. So it works for us. And if we just keep one battery on the charger and one on the tool, it can pretty much just keep up and we can switch them out. However, I did look at the sizes of the batteries that they offer, and they do offer a 4 amp battery, and they also offer a 5 amp high output battery, which is probably the battery that you would want to get for this tool if you can. That would be your best bet. So that is really the only significant drawback, because this planer with a 5 amp battery, or bigger if you want, it lasts a little while and you don't really have an issue there. But I would say it's well worth the lost runtime in this planer. When it comes to power, overall power, I haven't used it enough to say like very confidently exactly the difference, but what I will say is that I've had no issue planing hardwood or plywood with this thing. It's chewed right through everything. Once the battery gets a little low, it gets a little softer, but you switch out the battery and you're ready to roll again. I haven't really noticed a significant difference in power overall. Another big difference, and now this is the biggest difference between the two probably, is the width of the planer. So the blade on this one is a 3 1/4 inch blade. The blade on this one is 2 1/4, so it's an entire inch more narrow. And that was something for me to get used to, because when you're planing a 3/4 inch wall, you don't really have to aim at all on this one. On this one, you have to think about it just a little bit more. You got to hold the planer down a little bit lower, but I quickly adapted and it's no issue there anymore. But it is significantly more narrow, so depending what you're used to planing, this may not even work for you at all. So that is something to think about, is the difference in width. Some of the finer details, but still a big deal, is like the trigger and adjustment. So adjustment on this one is a knob in the front, same as this one. There's big differences here though, which is crucial. Number one, this one is a lot harder to turn. Also, the knob is right in the way of the numbers, so you can't see it from here. I cannot see the numbers, so I don't know what my depth is. I have to look at it from the side. Not a big deal, but it's a subtle change. This one, the exhaust is easier to switch. Boom, boom. This one, you have to flip this. Wait, it's not even that much easier, but it gets a little bit. This is a lot easier to turn on this one, and numbers are right in the top, and they're also engraved in the dial, and so even if you wear off the ink, you'll still be able to see it if you really want to. Just a very precise indicator right on the top. Far superior adjustment knob on this one. The other thing that is superior is the trigger. So this one does have a trigger safety, but it comes very naturally. So I usually hold it like this, flip this down, boom. It's just a very natural motion, and once you get the trigger down, you're just like holding it in your hand like normal. It doesn't even really, like, it just feels very, very, very natural. This one on the other hand, so it's heavy, so it's leveraging down. You're holding it like this. You have to hold this with 3 fingers, push this down with your thumb, and pull this with your trigger. So basically what you're doing then is you're holding against the whole weight of the planer with 3 of your fingers, and then you're using your other 2 to run the trigger. This gets extremely tiring. This one, you're not doing anything with your thumb, and once you get this trigger guard down, all 3 of these fingers are solid, and once you get this trigger pulled, that one is solid as well. And so you have all 5 fingers fully engaged. This one, it's 3 1/2. That pretty much sums up like the overall differences. I think there's some upgrades that they'll probably make to this one in the future to become a little bit more like this one in some ways, such as the dial and some of those upgrades. But all that to say, overall, the Milwaukee 12-volt planer is a phenomenal product. By far the best handheld planer I've used yet. So we'll see how it goes overall in the future and what changes they make. But at this point, if you're looking to buy a planer, I don't really see any reason why you would buy anything except the 12-volt planer. That to say, that's all I've got. That's all I've got.